Hey, what's up everyone? We're here on day 4 of a serial killer every day for the month of October. And on day 4, I give you Ed Gein. Also, we all know by now that YouTube won't monetize my videos because of the content. So I need your help to share, like this video only if you like it. If you don't, let me know what I can do to make it better. And please subscribe because only 2.2% of you are subscribed. Now, with that all being said, here's Ed Gein. Roll that intro. Ed Gein is far from the most prolific of all serial killers. There are only 2 murders in which he was undoubtedly responsible for. Yet he occupies a particularly terrifying place in our collective psyche. Not only was he the inspiration for the murderer in Hitchcock's Psycho, but his crimes also inspired the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the Buffalo Bill character in Thomas Harris' The Silence of the Lambs. Why does this inoffensive, seemingly little man inspire such horror? The simple answer is this: because of the things he kept in his kitchen and in his wardrobe. Things like bowls made out of human skulls, a wastepaper basket made of human skin, and a full breastplate made out of a woman's skin torso. And even perhaps most disturbing of all, a belt constructed entirely of female nipples. Not until the police raided Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment 30 years later would investigators find themselves in quite such a house of horror. Ed Gein was born in La Crosse, Washington, on August 27, 1906. The second son of Augusta and George Gein. Soon after his birth, the family moved to a remote farm outside nearby Plainfield. His father George was a feckless drinker who worked as a tanner and a carpenter, while Augusta was an extremely religious woman who dominated the family and ran a grocery store in La Crosse. Augusta drilled into young Ed and his older brother Henry the sinfulness of women and the utter evil of premarital sex, or by implication, any kind of sex at all. She disapproved of her children having friends, not that there were any children nearby. Ed Gein grew up, unsurprisingly enough, a sexually confused loner with a great fondness of escapist books and magazines. Even as an adult, Ed continued to have his isolated existence working on the farm alongside his parents and brothers. As long as that setup continued, Ed appeared to have been harmless enough. Things only really went off the rails when family members started to die off. In 1940, George died, and his son started to take on odd jobs in town to help make ends meet. Ed worked as a handyman and even as a babysitter, and townspeople found him likable and trustworthy. Then, in 1944, Henry died, with the benefit of hindsight to be suspicious circumstances. Ed and Henry were fighting a fire in the nearby marshes when the two got separated, and when the fire cleared, Henry was found dead. What was odd that his body was laying in an unburned area, and there was bruising on his head. The cause of death, though, was recorded as smoke asphyxiation. This left only Ed and his mother, Augusta, on the farm. Little more than a year, however, she had passed away too. She died of a stroke on December 29, 1945, following an argument with a neighbor. Ed's first response was to nail her bedroom door shut, leaving the room inside just as it was when she died. His second response was to take up grave robbing. He became fascinated with human anatomy. He was particularly interested reading about the first sex change operation undertaken by Christine Jorgensen, and even considered having a sex change operation himself. Then, in concert with a disturbed local named Gus, he started visiting graveyards and taking souvenirs, sometimes even whole bodies. He would scour the obituary column of the local newspaper in order to find the freshest buried female corpses. Gein started to manufacture his macabre household decorations, and eventually his grave robbing expeditions failed to satisfy his strange obsession. In December 1954, a 51-year-old woman called Mary Hogan disappeared from the bar she ran in Pine Grove, Wisconsin. There was blood on the floor and a spent cartridge found at the scene. Gein was among the potential suspects, but there was no hard evidence to connect him, and the police saw no reason to visit his home. This was the first of only 2 murders that can be certainly accredited to Gein. The next came 3 years later. Once again, the victim was a woman in her 50s, and once again, she looked like Ed's mother. Her name was Bernice Warden, and on November 16, 1957, she was abducted from her hardware store in Plainfield. Again, there was blood on the floor. This time, however, the police had a pretty good clue as to who was responsible. The victim's son told them that Ed Gein had asked her mother on a date, and another local resident recalled Ed saying he needed to buy some antifreeze from her store on the day she died. A receipt for antifreeze was found laying on the store, and the police decided to pay Ed Gein a visit. Bernice Warden's corpse was hanging from the rafters. Her head was cut off, her genitalia removed, and her torso was split open and gutted. On further inspection, they found her head turned into a makeshift ornament, and her heart sitting in a saucepan on the stove. They also discovered a pistol that matched the cartridge found in the scene of Mary Hogan's murder. On arrest, Gein immediately confessed to the murders of Warden and Hogan, as well as to his grave robbing activities. A judge found Gein incompetent for trial and was committed to a secure mental hospital. His house was demolished to prevent it from becoming a focus of macabre cults. Soon after, Ed Gein's mortality was ensured when local writer Robert Bloch wrote a book called Psycho, inspired by the case, and Alfred Hitchcock picked it up for the movies. In 1968, Gein was once more submitted for trial, but was again found insane. He ended his days in the mental hospital, dying of respiratory failure on July 26, 1984. That's all the time we have for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment who you think the next killer is going to be. You can follow me or reach out to me on Twitter, and I also have a Twitch channel that I play games from time to time. The link is in the description down below. Until next time, guys, sweet dreams.